Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Joel, I think a week ago roughly, sent me his track. It's called Now You Know Me for feedback basically. And I had a couple of suggestions here and there, but I thought, it's not the same as if I, like kind of demonstrate what I mean by certain things during mixing. And I'll also see if I can maybe improve a little bit on the production as well, but everything is printed into audio right now, so it's like, I obviously have a very limited control over most of the production. And I also kind of want to keep this video like roughly simple, so to speak, to be it's more about like mixing and like just mastering and stuff like this. Because I also assume most of you watching these videos have, similar ideas or tracks where you're kind of stuck, you don't know how to improve on the mix or what to look for. And this is just, really just wanted to make a video about, kind of showing my workflow, how I think about things, when I'm mixing songs in this genre. This is obviously a piano house tune. I'm gonna play into it in a second. And well, actually, let's just play into it. There's not a lot I can talk about here. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, hopefully you get the idea from this, and let's just get into mixing. And if I have any thoughts about anything, like basically, so how I usually start is by treating the individual sounds a little bit first, and just just going through everything basically to see if there's even so there's people who do this right away in the context of the whole mix, but I prefer to like check in on each individual sound and each individual channel to make sure that it's as good as it possibly can individually, and just then move on to like the more contextual things. And so obviously the first thing I will start here is like making sure that the drop sections are right, because in the case of a dance track, it's like if the drops are right, the breakdowns will be like fairly obvious how to tailor them to those drops. And so first things first, I think the drops have to be as good as they possibly can, and then we can worry about the breakdown and all the other elements. So I usually start with the kick and the bass relation, so this is again what I'm gonna do, and yeah, let's see it from there. Now this not sure if even no it's mono, so it's okay. It's obviously very blunt. Probably also doesn't need to be this long. I tried not to use too fancy plugins. Hopefully the Pro Q3 is something that everyone has, and if you don't have it, this is something I would highly recommend getting. This is basically the, like to me at least, this is the most versatile EQ, and this is what I use in most cases. If you have access to like more sophisticated EQs or whatnot, you can always use those as well. But I just for my workflow, the Pro Q3 is the best for this type of like all-around EQ, so to speak. Obviously there's some other EQs I'm using, if I like that. So this is something that I could have done with this one, but I don't think many people have UAD plugins, and this one as well. But this is also good for maybe bringing out the high end. Now, obviously, these sound pretty different, and but both are perfectly fine. So for the sake of this video just being as you know, as easy to replicate as possible, I'm going to use these more accessible plugins everywhere where I can, and yeah, just go from there. So yeah, let's see. So what I also like to do in most cases, especially when I see, like, I just look at the waveform and I see that these kicks are not the same everywhere. So this is usually not a feature. Some songs can have slightly different kick drums throughout the whole track, but I just don't think this is, again, I just don't think this is a feature of this song. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make sure that these kick drums are gonna be the same thing everywhere. So, and also these doublings, even if I zoom out of the waveform, it shows that these go higher in level, which means they weren't properly trimmed. So that's also something I'm gonna make sure that I trim them properly, so that they don't go higher than the normal waveform kicks, you know. So hope this makes sense, you know, just so that the level is consistent throughout. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy paste these all over. And this one I already made, so I'm just gonna do it like this. Yeah, and we have some intro kicks, and this is also something I would highly recommend to so this session probably got bounced to me, you know, just to have as few stems as possible. But I would highly recommend, you know, always separating these intro-ish kicks, because so there's two ways to go about this. Obviously, one is to have automation and one channel, or multiple channels without maybe automation, or like with automation. That doesn't even matter. But this is exactly the point, that sometimes you want to automate differently these intro kicks sometimes than the other ones. So it's always worth to, like, you know, right away have it on a separate channel, and then you won't really need to even think about stuff like this later on. Now, again, something I want to kind of make sure here is that I'm just gonna, for the time being, move these out from this channel, and I just want to make these kicks a little bit shorter, because they don't need to be this long, most likely. Okay, but I kind of messed it up, so I'm just gonna copy paste it once again. And here I'm also gonna put some very little fades, just so there's no clicking noise. And this is the same section as this, right? Yeah, seems like. So hopefully the kick is kind of ready. Of course, in the context of the whole mix, I'm gonna try to treat it even better. But for the time being, this is good to, like, you know, to move on now to the bass, and then yeah, I'll see it from there. Now, this does not make any sense whatsoever, because the sub bass is in a range where it's not even audible. Like the musical notes are around 16 hertz. That's not so it doesn't matter how good your room acoustics or or whatever, because that's just, you know, you literally cannot hear that. Like, you know, the human hearing starts around 20 hertz, a little bit above. Like the older you get, the higher it goes, obviously, and it goes up about 20K. But again, the older you get, you know, the lower that goes. So having the sub that low, it just doesn't make any sense, because no one can even hear it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remake this sub. I have a couple of presets here. I in most cases I use this one. This is the so this is a preset that Serum comes with. I'm just gonna do it, and this is the only adjustment I'm making, is to like put this, I don't know, wavetable position to the maximum, and then that's it. Again, hopefully Serum is again a plugin that most of you will have. This long bass, I think I'm also gonna have to kind of replace here, because it's again something kind of questionable. But that one I think I'm not sure what I will replace it, but I'm gonna get to it in a second. I just want to model the remake the sub. Now, so this is kind of the range you wanna have your sub bass in. This is this, you know, from 28 or 30 maybe where it started, up until like, you know, roughly 40, 46, 47, 48, I don't know. Obviously I yeah, this is sounding good. And so obviously this sub I'm not gonna use. So let's just get it out of the way. Yep. And now something I just want to point out first here is that when we listened through the whole track for the first time, it's very obvious that the track doesn't have any sidechain. So I'm gonna also be very modest about sidechaining here, and I'm not really gonna use all that much. But I'm just saying that that's another option to like go. This is what I in most cases do, is to go for a little bit more aggressive sidechain, and then that's gonna be the factor that makes sure that the kick can stand out. Here I'm gonna have to use some alternative solutions, which is like mostly obviously going to be compression on the master channel, which is also perfectly good. So I'm just saying that I want to be as true to the original like concept as I possibly can, and because this is like probably doesn't even have any sidechain on the track, I'm also going to be very light with sidechaining here. So the sub will have to be sidechained to the kick. There's not a lot I can do there, but everything else can. I'll try to sidechain as little as I possibly can. In the end, we might not even need this this sub if I just remake it. So I think I'm just gonna use Nexus here because this is the favorite dong bass that I use in most cases. Because this, so I have two options here to get rid of the sub frequencies here and add back this sub, or to like leave this synth sub frequencies here, and I'm just gonna check out which one is sounding better to me. So obviously it's much better, it's going to be much better with the separate sub bass. So this is how I'm going to keep it for the time being. I also lowered the level because these stems are on a fairly high level already. So yeah, let's just, you know, move on from here. We have the kick and the bass basically kind of okay. So once again, the bass is something I probably won't need. Maybe in the end, you know, I'm gonna try to make these original stems work, just to show that, you know, how could you make this. But you know, for other alternatives for this donkish bass, you know, I can show in the context of Logic. There's this one in Alchemy. So if you use Logic, Deep, I think it's called Deep something. This is it, yeah. Of course, this would need a little bit of processing, but this is a good solution for this donkish bass. There's this FM synth, which is also very good for this type of bass. I just, you know, my personal preference is this Nexus one. This is just sounds the best right away. So this is what I use most of them, but these other options are perfectly viable too. Yeah, let's move on from here. I think let's try to get the piano as good as we can. Now the problem is that if I sidechain the bass, I also kind of won't be able to get away with like at least sidechaining a little bit of the piano. So I'm gonna be lighter, much lighter than the bass, but. Yeah, somewhere around this range. Once again, I'm just gonna use an EQ and try to like figure out if I can make it any better. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can. So it's just, you know, we'll just see what sounds good. I believe this is an M1 piano, so I could also, in theory, could try to remake it if I needed to. But I think this is gonna be a good enough stem to work with. But it also has so the M1 has an effect which is called, I think, the imager or stereo or whatever it's called. It's not very good, and so I'm gonna try to like correct those imaging stuff there. Something like this. I believe a little bit of compression will be needed on this. So again, I'm just going to use the Pro C2, which again, I assume most of you have. So what I did here is instead of, so this piano is kind of in the center, but it's kind of a weird way because, as I've said, I don't really like the M1 imager effect. So what I try to do is to kind of replicate that effect a little bit better by summing the audio into mono first, and then just try to like stereoize it with this isotope plugin that way. But it also kind of sounded weird. So what I did instead is I just separated this the signal, the left side from the right side, and I a little bit moved away the right side from it. So it's now this is not going to like mess up the mono compatibility a little bit, but it's going to sound much better in stereo, which is that's kind of my goal with the piano right now, right here. So it's just what I'm gonna go with. Alternatively, I would have this option too to like create space with like a delay plugin, something like this. But again, this is something that already sounds better if I had this previous like left-right separation on. So I probably will do it like this somehow. And keep a little bit of this delay. And this is something I talked about in a previous video, that if you use these 1/8 or 1/4 type of delays, you kind of want to move it a little bit away from it being like exact, so that there's no like phasing between the repeated notes, because the M1 is a sampled instrument. It's going so two notes will always sound exactly the same. So if they are also delayed, you're going to create phasing effects which are just plain and simply not necessary. So if you can, always delay these a little bit. So and this C-room effects delay is something that's the best for this exact purpose. I'm not sure if this piano will be needed here. Let's just check it out. But yeah, since they are playing different progressions, I kind of have to keep it, because otherwise I'm going against the song, so... in general, so in the case of this EQ, the more high-end adjustments you want to make, the more you want to use natural phase instead of zero latency, or sometimes even linear phase. But uh, that's a very different topic, and I really don't want to go into too much detail into it. The whole point is that if you use the Pro Q3, the more high-end adjustments you make, so one or two, it doesn't really matter whether you're zero latency or natural phase. But once you're stacking, like what I'm doing here with like a bunch of like very subtle, very little adjustments in the high end, especially, that's kind of when you want to switch to natural phase. It's So there's this thing called phase smearing, which is like, of course, you have to listen on like good enough equipment to hear it. There's a reason why there's a different modes here, and whether you hear it or not, it's a thing, and this is going to sound as close to reality in terms of like the physics of reality as it possibly can, because most digital EQs are obviously operating, like every digital EQ is operating with ones and zeros, obviously. And so this is the kind of phase correction that's going to sound the closest to reality, if this makes sense. Zero latency is going to, well, it's going to do what it does. It's without latency, without really any CPU usage. This is a little bit more CPU usage, a little bit more latency, but it sounds a little bit better, and it's going to add up, especially if, again, as I've said, if you use multiple adjustments in the high end, it's going to matter. So you can either use a different EQ, that's also an option, but if you use this Pro Q3, especially with like a bunch of little adjustments, which I do as well, then I would highly recommend switching to natural phase. Now, the problem is that I just realized that I don't have a reference, so I'm just gonna edit this one in a second. And I'm gonna like print the stems how it was, so what his mixdown sounded like. Okay, so I have this print here, and, so let's just kind of reference it to my mix to like his reference, and then I'll see if I've already improved on anything, like just something that stands out to me. So one thing that stands out to me right away is this piano 2 is way too loud. So hopefully, at least I believe that it's right now it's something much more professional, with especially with this sub replacement. There's virtually no sub in this track, or I mean there is, but it's in a range where human ear can't hear it, so technically it's not really there. Yeah, and of course this bass replacement is also helping this situation, I believe. The piano stereoization also, I think, was a very good idea here, because it's just, something like so much better to me. So this is also something I see a lot in productions, which will need to be taken care of a little bit, at least. For these effects, like this, so let me just show it. I mean, it's kind of in the okay-ish territory, but you kind of don't want this. These white noises have these in this frequency range, from like whatever from low up until like even like 1 or maybe even 2K. You can very safely get rid of these frequencies, or at least automate as you as you go into more into the drop, because sometimes the low ranges of certain effects will be needed for the impact of the drops, and so you kind of don't want to get rid of the impact elements, but at the same time, it just sounds, especially if you're listening on good equipment, you will hear it that it sounds weird, that this range is still overlapping with the piano, the other the elements. It's just not really pleasant to have these white noises in this this middle range. So I can very safely get rid of everything here, I believe, but let's just so this is something that has to be judged in the context of the whole mix, because otherwise, again, if you're just listening alone, even this is sounding perfectly fine with these lower ranges. But when the other instruments are there, it's kind of like it's creating this kind of a clogging effect. So sometimes you want to filter it like this, sometimes you don't want to. So it's going to be very contextual, and it's going to be a little bit different every single time. But here I believe it's not going to be needed. Maybe I can even add a little bit of sidechain to this one as well. So just by this one move, with the effect filtered out of the way, it's the impact, at least to my ears, it's sounding very similar to how it was without it. So that didn't, so I didn't affect the impact, but at the same time, the mixdown is sounding cleaner. Maybe I can even go higher. Yeah, so what I'm just gonna do is on the drops, I'm gonna just move this effect to this channel instead. When the kick drum and the other, when the instruments are playing, and go from there. So maybe this one's going to be better if I leave a little bit of bottom here. Let's just check it out like this. Yeah. So this one doesn't need the same treatment. Here I've heard something funny with the piano. I think it was this piano 2, right? Probably some export error, it doesn't matter much. Now the intro kick sounded very weird with those high-end adjustments. There's this ARP channel. When the waveform is so little, I tend to just normalize and pull back from the gain and go from there. Oh, something I also noticed when I bounced when I printed the reference is that there's this click in the beginning of all of these stems. So I'm just gonna get rid of this. Again, this is probably just an export error. It's not really all that. It doesn't really matter because I'm gonna adjust the beginning anyway. But just in case, I'm gonna do this right away. So the orbs are perfectly fine, just not really stereo enough, in my opinion. So again, there's multiple ways of going around this issue. I could either add the stereo delay, just like I did with the piano. Once again, I'm a little bit like adjusting this thing. Now, in this case, this doesn't sound as good, as if I just, simply accentuated the stereo width. But there's also this other option with like, I think, this dimension type of thing. Or lately I've been using a lot this Valhalla Supermassive. This is also a good option. Or like a little bit of combination of all of these. I'm just hearing a little bit of like a resonance here. So this is also something that could be done during the production, but it's just for the transition. It's to automate a little bit, filter down the high end as it goes into this this breakdown, as it disappears, just so it doesn't disappear that directly. Probably once we have the vocal in there, that's going to like cover it a little bit. But just in case, even the instrumental should be as good as you possibly can make it without the vocal like covering certain things. Okay, so this is not significant enough, obviously. Yeah, so just so that it's a little bit smoother, I don't want to like overdo this. Probably going to be the same thing here, right? Yeah, I'm going to do the other stuff once every other element is there in context. So I'm just gonna copy paste the bass around first, because that's gonna be needed. So I'm not sure why the sub in the original channel is like this. That's interesting, because here it appears to be in the right range, but in the drop it was too low. So it's weird a little bit. Conceptually speaking, I'm not sure if this makes all that much sense to like have these long notes under the kick drum, especially without without sidechain, how it was. I personally, but this is just my taste. I'm gonna have to like discuss this with Joel, and this doesn't really matter in from the context of the mixing, but I just think conceptually speaking, it's better if I leave the sub in there. Maybe get it out from like this section. But once the kick is playing without sub, it's gonna be sounding a little bit weird. And again, I've just heard an effect here which had this mid-range, which at these points where the arpeggio is no, oh, okay, just in case, where the arpeggio is playing over the drop sections, I'm gonna add a little bit of sidechain. So for example here, like the piano is filtered down, but the arpeggio isn't, so it's just not as consistent as it could be. So this is again going to be a point where this filter will probably be needed, at least if not as much as on the piano, just a little bit, just so it's like, you know, it's smoother. So obviously the new bass is adding a lot to it, but otherwise I think everything else is improved as well so far. So let's check on the other elements. I'm gonna leave the vocals for a little bit later. Reverse piano, so I'm not even sure. But this is the piano 1, I think, so I'm gonna move it up to the piano 1. Was this clap offbeat? Yeah, so this is not on the grid. So once again, just making sure that the clap is the same. Okay, should be good to go. What else? Snare roll. This is probably good as it is. Maybe I could add a little bit of weight to it. I'm not sure what free plugins to use for this. I would normally use this this exciter. Somewhere. I'm not even sure where it's going to sound the best. We'll see. Again, this is up to the concept, but it appears that also the snares are not exactly on the grid. Not sure why. Not sure why. So that the hit starts earlier than the That's not good like that. Yeah, probably gonna be better. But again, this is up to the concept. But I would like just continue it right away into until it drops with the snare. Like this. But this is more of a taste thing. This is not really a technical issue or not a technical issue. It doesn't matter. This is just something I would do. But here it seems like it's like that. But once again, I kind of feel that it's not on the grid. Yeah, it just starts earlier than the grid. So these are, you know, kind of like amateur stuff that, you know, you kind of need to pay attention to, because this is something that could be very easily avoided. Just like this is all it took. Probably this won't be on the grid either. Again, because I'm just not seeing the waveform here, I'm just gonna normalize and see where this plays. Just again adding a little bit of sidechain when the kick is present. And so just to be the kick, so not the kick, but the sidechain here is not necessarily a mixing adjustment. It's it makes mixing a little bit easier, but it's not necessarily a mixing adjustment. But I just think that in terms of, like, you know, it's of course it's my taste as well, but I just think that it's better for this track to like leave even a little bit more room to the kick to stand out from the rest. And I guess it's just, you know, it's my taste, but I think it's working best like this, instead of like not leaving any sidechain. As I've said in the beginning, it can be done without any sidechain. That's not really an issue. All I need to do is just, you know, compress a little bit more on the master. But I think it works best with a little bit more sidechain. I'm just gonna get rid of these tails as well. Yeah. All right, so I think white noise, again, I don't really see the waveform, so let me just do this. And the same thing once again, I don't need. Okay. So I think the instrumental, from a mix perspective, it's good to go. So now let's see the vocals. How do they
Somebody told me that you were in love with another girl. I didn't believe.
I would be able to do a better job if it wouldn't have reverb on it, because this reverb is it's not, yeah, it's not that it's good or bad, but it doesn't have the stereo width that I would add to the type of reverb that I would use here. So I'm gonna have to make other adjustments to like kind of counter this reverb, instead of, you know, working with the dry stem. But it's not a tragedy here. I'm just saying that in advance that, you know, sometimes you should pay a little bit more attention to what the reverb is sounding like.
Somebody told me that you
Because it's a little bit too narrow, to my taste at least. Is it even stereo? Let me just check.
were in love with another girl, but I didn't believe.
Oh no, it was just, like, it was just too narrow for some reason. I don't understand, but it works like this, so.
Somebody told me that you were in love with another girl, but I didn't believe. You don't really know me. If you think I'm dumb, if you think I'm going back, that's not what I need. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control. I've seen this before. You keep lying to my face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. You don't really know me. If you think I'm dumb, if you think I'm going back, that's not what I need. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to.
So I hear some sub, okay. In this range. Well, I guess I can do it like this.
I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control. I've seen this before. You keep lying to my face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my. I don't need something that is cold, something.
So from a production point of view, this is something I would never do, to like have the have the sub play like this under the piano. So I would much rather just work with the bass. So again, this is just a suggestion. This is what I would do, and this is not what you have to do. I'm just saying that it would probably be a better option to like do something like this.
I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control.
If you want to add to the lower ranges, even you could add back the from the sub here, so not to be that aggressive.
I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold.
But this is just, it's just, I guess it's just more consistent, because this is kind of like not as great with the piano somehow. I don't know. It's just, conceptually speaking, it's just, to me, it's not consistent or congruent. Not sure what's the better word here.
I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control.
Not to mention, it's not even that audible, especially if someone's listening on like mobile phone speakers. It's like, this is just not gonna come true at all, that you're making a change, basically. I mean, I assume you just didn't want the sections to be the same, right? So then you kind of have to make sure that these these changes are as audible as possible. Yeah, so
Somebody told me that you were in love with another girl, but I didn't believe. You don't really know me. If you think I'm dumb, if you think I'm going back, that's not what I need.
yeah, so here with the delays,
You don't really know me.
what I did is just basically I added a ping pong delay, because I hear that there's already delay, but it's again too much in the middle for my taste. I would just, I just kind of wanted to spread it a little bit better. Maybe I'm gonna do it like this.
Somebody told me that you were in love with another girl, but I didn't believe. You don't really know me. If you think I'm dumb, if you think I'm going back, that's not what I need. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way.
So I just don't want it to go to the red, the piano.
Why don't you just
As
go
I've heard it's a little bit too wide now.
away? I don't
And
need
especially once I get there on the master, I'm also going to probably make a little bit more side info adjustments. So I'm just even preparing for that one as well.
you in my way. I don't need you in my way. You think you know me, but I wasn't lying when I told you that I'm over you. No time for playing, no time for games. I need a real man, not someone like you. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control. I've seen this before. You keep lying to my face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way.
And I also remember that Joel asked me, like, he wanted to do a better transition here. I kind of, my hands are fairly tight because I have to work with audio, but like one thing that comes to mind in a section like this is some sort of a reverse reverb. I'm gonna show it. Or maybe even just this EI. How should I do this? Not even sure. Maybe I'm gonna print it like this. And
Face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Need you in my way. I don't need you in my way.
yeah, maybe something like this. This is not the greatest, but it's it's an idea at least to maybe how to do this. And again, this is just to make it as professional as I could. I'm gonna print it into audio and go into sidechain once the kick hits in. So it's again, it's just much more consistent with everything else basically.
In my way.
Now you might not want to have a tail that goes into the drop. So then another option to go for is it's gonna be this. So just this part is what I will need with a little bit of reverb.
Need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. In my way.
Now in this context, this doesn't really work that well. You know, at least I don't like it. This was much better. If something, I would do something like this, but yeah, again, this is up to the production process to figure out. This is not really about the mixing, but this is something I would kind of like do myself, I think. So now this is we are at a point, I think, where, you know, I'm kind of like happy with just the mix. I'm just gonna listen to it once or twice more. Maybe I'll edit this part out, but just to make sure it's good, and then we'll move over to the master chain, like how I would finalize a track like this. Maybe a little bit of de-essing could work here. I'm not sure. Usually my choice of de-esser is the sibilance from Waves.
Somebody told me that you were in love with another girl. I didn't believe. You don't really know me. If you think I'm done, if you think I'm going back, that's not what I need. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control. I've seen this before. You keep lying to my face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. I hear, why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. I hear, I don't need you in my way. I hear, need you in my way. Need you in my way.
Now, of course, here the same would be needed to be done with this my way, but for the time being, I'm not gonna do this unless, you know, Joel asks for this specifically. We'll see.
I've seen this before. You keep keep lying to my face. I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way. Why don't you just go away? I don't need you in my way. I don't need you in my way.
All right, so I'm fairly happy with this. Now, when it comes to mastering, you need an adaptive release limiter at the very end, and this is something that that's basically the most important thing in all of like any sort of mastering procedure. Like, I don't know how to say this any better, but like never use so it's not enough that you use a limiter, because there's different kinds of limiters. There's, for example, like this is a non-adaptive release limiter. It just has a release knob, and you set it where you set it, and it's always going to be like this. Here you can, like, even if this would have a release knob or like an attack knob or whatever, it's like the two knobs are built together for some reason. I'm not sure why, but the point is that it's always adapting anyway. Both here, I think here both the attack and both the release types are adapting throughout. But the most important is that the release time is adaptive, because otherwise it's not a mastering grade limiter. Like, for example, don't use the fruity limiter at the very end of your master chain. That's just a recipe for like a disaster, basically. That's not good. You need an adaptive release type of limiter. Like my choice in most cases is this ozone maximizer, but there's the FabFilter Pro L2. This is also very good. I'm gonna use this one because I just plain and simply like it better, and I believe it does a better job. It's going to be able to do a better job with this material at hand. And since I have a limiter on, I'm gonna like put back the volume. So I'm not yet happy with the loudness. I'm probably going to use a little bit more like more special plugins here instead of, because I kind of can just use the Pro Q, but that's never going to be the same as like some massive passive emulation or something. But yeah, so the point is, I'm not yet happy with the loudness, but I just kind of want to move on to the other things, and I'm going to build the chain backwards here, because I kind of hear what this needs, so it's not going to be that complicated. I just want a little bit of more high-end imaging. I'm adding this tape plugin just so I kind of want this this mix to like glue together a little bit better. And another, like, this is also like compression a little bit, but this is more like a like adding saturation over everything together, and that's also like creating this little bit of an illusion of more of a gluedness togetherness, I guess. I don't know how to say this properly. And then of course the next step is to like add normal compression, which I'm going to use this bus compressor here. Now, for my own workflow, for my own tracks, I don't always use compression on the master, especially if I'm more aggressive with my side chains. But here I'm not really aggressive with them. It's like, it's there on some instruments, but like nothing else is like, overly side chained. So here I'm not going to be able to get the target loudness without compressing a little bit on the master at least. So this is going to be, I might even use 2 compressors, not sure. But for the time being, I start out with this bus compressor, and it's already sounding good to me, like with this very little tweaking. I just want the needle to not really move more than 2 dB, or like even preferably just 1 dB. But yeah, this is something that has to always be adjusted by ear. There's not a golden rule of like what's best or what's not the best.
You think you know me, but I wasn't lying when I told you that I'm over you. No time for playing, no time for games. I need a real man, not someone like you. I don't need something that is cold.
And just another thing to keep in mind, with this compressor. I might have overdone a little bit of the compression. I probably will dial back from it, but you can see that this is how much the limiter is doing, and without these, you can see it's like doing so much more work. Like it's clearly visible, like even if you don't hear it. So this is also another thing. Like compression is really good for gaining a little bit additional like headroom for loudness, basically, if you want to go louder, which I think I want to go a little bit louder in the case of this track. Another adjustment I will make here is I feel that because of this this sub, and because the kick is also like coming through a little bit too much, maybe this is I can just solve it by just the fader. But yeah, I don't want to lose the punch. So what I usually do, this is again a little bit more sophisticated plugin, but this is a dynamic EQ. There's multiple ways to do this. You can do this with like a multi-band compressor, like the 5-Filter Pro MB. This is, I assume more people have this. Maybe let's just use it like this. It can be done with this one as well. I prefer to personally use dynamic EQs more than multi-band compressors. Because of this phase shifting type of thing. Like I don't always like how this sounds. I just think the Ozone 8 does a little bit better job than this unit in terms of like, again, phase smearing, but it's not super audible, so it's not something you need to worry about. But I just like them better, that's it. So but it can be done here, so that's what I'm gonna do. So and what I'm going to do, right? Because I didn't explain it. The thing I want, so for loudness is basically you can go more louder without distortion the less low end you have. So all I want to do is just make sure that the low end gets out of the way as fast as it possibly can. Now, so I'm going to leave a little bit of attack for it, because I don't want it to be so I don't want to definitely weaken the low end necessarily, at least not the punches, but I just want them to have a little less feeling effect, if this makes sense, so that the low end gets out of the way a little bit. Hopefully it's going to be audible, so let's just do it. So to me, everything is just sounding a little bit clearer, and also I've probably gained again a little bit of headroom here.
You think you know me, but I wasn't lying when I told you that I'm over you. No time for playing, no time for games. I need a real man, not someone like you.
Now, even after this, I might use a little bit more compression just to make sure that it's what I want.
You think you know me, but I wasn't.
And basically only one thing that's left. You know, I kind of like how this sounds. I'm gonna listen back in an hour or something, because now at this point I'm just kind of used to how it sounds. So I'm not gonna be able to make that accurate stuff, and I would also need to reference with other songs. You know, in the meantime, I'm gonna listen to other music and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna come back to this later. But so far, I like how this one sounds. And the only one thing that's kind of left is to like give the track a little bit more overall EQ, and this is my mastering EQ of choice. It's the massive passive emulation. Again, this is something I've showed in other videos. So yeah, let me just listen to what I feel that works.
You think you know me, but I wasn't lying when I told you that I'm over you. No time for playing, no time for games. I need a real man, not someone like you. I don't need something that is cold, something I have seen before, something running to the core. You try to flatter me with gold, you're just trying to control. I've seen this before. You keep
So it's definitely better if the compression is taken care before the EQ. Sometimes this is going to depend on the track itself. I'm just gonna play around with the master chain sometimes to see if the EQ works before the compressor better or after. Again, this is different every time, and sometimes I will use 2 EQs, one before, one after. It's again just different every single time. But here right now I'm happy with how this one sounds, so I'm just gonna bounce it down and come back to the session a little bit later, and maybe I won't even record that one, and maybe this is enough for one video. I think it's gonna be long enough anyway. How long is this? Oh my god, it's like 1.5 hours since I started this. So so yeah, Not sure if I record the other sessions for this song. So thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you later on with another recording of session, or maybe not, or maybe it's gonna be a different video. But yeah, see you the next time.